Good morning, Marvel Rival nerds. My name is Judgment Monk, and welcome to Marvel Rivals by the Numbers. Today, we're going to be going over the Vanguard balance adjustments since the beginning of Season 1. Please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe for more Rivals content, and provide any feedback that you think would be helpful moving forward. Also, consider sharing this video to get the community in on the discussion. We are starting off strong with the first Avenger, Captain America. Captain America is a character that creates space for his team without being on the front lines. Cap runs behind enemy lines to draw attention, and if not respected, can assassinate the enemy backline. Due to this playstyle, Captain America was thought to be underpowered at launch. Therefore, Cap has received more changes than any other Vanguard in the game. It began with a quicker start to his shield recovery, a reduced shield bash cooldown, as well as buffs to his health and ult charge. At this point, Cap was beginning to be known for his survivability, but still saw very little play. Thus came another round of buffs. Along with another ult charge buff, these buffs were specifically targeted at quality of life changes, a faster shield throw and ricochet speed, the ability to shield while jumping, and last but definitely not least, separating his melee from his primary shield throw and his shield slam ability. At the start of Season 2 is where things started to get out of hand. Captain America became the anchor of the Stars Aligned team-up with Winter Soldier. He received an extra 100 HP and a 5% damage buff across all abilities. This change, along with several nerfs to the top tanks in the game, allowed Cap to become the menace that we know and love. After players learned the ins and outs of this character, it was only a matter of time before nerfs had to come his way. Back-to-back nerfs to survivability put him back in line with other tanks, but he is still a strong character in the right hands. Currently, Captain America doesn't do the most amount of damage, but his animation cancels definitely help with that. When playing against the Captain America, pay attention to his shield slam and his shield bash abilities. These are his method of mobility, and without them, he can be taken out. Moving on to our former neurosurgeon that turned to the mystic arts, Dr. Stephen Strange. Dr. Strange is one of the main shield tanks in the game. He defends his team by clashing with the enemy head-on, but defense is far from the only thing the Sorcerer Supreme is capable of. From the beginning of the game, Strange was seen as a huge threat. His versatility to play either offensively or defensively, combined with his team-wiping ultimate, led him to receive multiple nerfs. First, a hit to his damage output, and shield uptime. The addition of fall-off damage to his Maelstrom of Madness made his burst potential less reliable. However, these small changes couldn't move him from his spot atop the Vanguards. Strange received another ticky-tack nerf, this time to his health. However, at the start of Season 2, they finally did it. They nerfed Strange just enough to take him out of the meta, starting by removing him from the Hulk Gamma team-up. No more boost to his Maelstrom damage, and no more ignoring the anti-heal effect at max dark magic. They also brought his damage down throughout his kit. The difference between 90 damage per primary and 80 damage is a whole extra attack to kill a 250 health hero. On top of that, nerfing the damage ratio to his Maelstrom of Madness took the max damage of his basic combo, being primary, melee, and burst, from 250 damage to 230. Adjusting breakpoints like this can completely change a character's viability. All of this was justified by giving him a team-up anchor bonus of 100 extra HP. Strange fell off a cliff and is slowly making his way back up the Vanguard ranks. And with a few buffs to make him feel a bit better, Strange can still be a menace in the right hands. Currently, Strange is a character that everyone should learn to play for his offensive and defensive capabilities in the Vanguard role, but also for his portal plays, which can create a whole new game plan on the fly, and not to mention recontest objectives with your entire team for last-second holds or pushes. Next, we have the newest addition to the Vanguard lineup, the Season 2 superstar, Emma Frost. Emma's introduction to the game was not only a boon to player engagement, for obvious reasons, but also a huge impact to the way the game was played. She was an offensive juggernaut on the front lines, a defensive queen for the back lines, had an instant kill potential for anyone out of position, and teamed up with another amazing Vanguard in Magneto. Emma was borderline too strong on release, and after several nerfs, she's still a contender for the best Vanguard in the game. After a month and a half of dominance, Season 2.5 brought the first set of nerfs to the White Queen. First, a decrease to her shield health lowers her protective surfaces. The nerf to her kick and wall damage is felt every time you go into the diamond form. However, the biggest impact came from the 1 second added to the choke slam cooldown. This hard CC ability defined the character, and adding 1 second reduced its usability to once per diamond form. These nerfs didn't kill the character, but did incentivize a change in playstyle to be more primary attack focused, and the range buff helped do just that. In Season 3, Emma will see another hit, but this time to her primary attack. This change actually affects the entire range of her primary attack from 0 to 99%, as it changes the slope of the damage increase. Emma will also be slightly less fortified in her diamond form, which honestly is fair given her smaller character model. Currently, Emma is still capable to instantly kill anyone with 275 HP or less, but the difference between a good and great Emma will be the ability to consistently hit and break the soul crystal for big bursts of damage. Now, let's not forget about everyone's favorite Guardian of the Galaxy, Groot, our sweet Flora Colossus, our gentle giant tree. Until you make him mad. Groot is a character that was severely overshadowed at the beginning of the game, but while the shield tanks dominated, the Groot mains were biding their time for their meta. Groot received his first change at the start of Season 1.5, with a range buff to his Thorn Wall from 15 to 18 meters. This change is actually crucial to Groot's gameplay, as it allows Groot to cut off his enemies just inside his 20-meter primary attack range. Groot hasn't received many changes throughout the life of the game, but as the game changed around him, Groot found himself at the top of the Vanguard ladder. In Season 2, Groot became a permaban for many players, as he could fundamentally change the way that people have to play the game. From his peak, Groot had to receive multiple nerfs to bring him back in line. His Iron Wall was made more manageable by decreasing the health and increasing the cooldown, and by decreasing his primary damage, this changed the breakpoint versus 275 health characters. This change also slowed his ult charge rate, as he has one of the lowest requirements in the game. Currently, Groot is an overall good option. However, I believe he has one of the largest gaps in value between a good player and a bad player. A good Groot can make life miserable for the enemy team, while a bad Groot can almost be considered reportable for throwing. Moving on to the legend himself, the Jade Giant, the taciturn terror, the Incredible Hulk. Being my personal main, I feel Hulk is amazing for so many different team compositions. He's capable of playing multiple different playstyles, peel focused, dive heavy, brawling on the objective, or just being a distraction in the backline. Whatever you need, Hulk can do it all. Hulk is regarded as the character with the highest skill floor and one of the highest skill ceilings. But even with all the positives, Hulk has never been atop of the Vanguard ladder. He's been on a roller coaster of bannability, mostly due to the powerful team-ups that he enables. Originally empowering Strange, further enhancing the already dominant Vanguard, as well as Iron Man, a character sometimes deemed unplayable without the team-up. Hulk now gives Namor a Gamma Squid that was called Broken upon release. All of these team-ups led to Hulk's ban more often than not. Hulk started Season 1 with a nerf to his bubble. Considering all the damage absorbed is converted to ult charge, this makes sense. The only other change Hulk has received came in Season 2, and boy were they a doozy. 3 buffs in total. 1. A lower bubble cooldown to increase his uptime. 2. Lower minimum leap charge time for more actions per minute. And 3. Increased movement speed to chase down his fleeing enemies. Currently, Hulk is as good as you can make him, but he has many counters throughout the roster. Any ability that can displace the Hulk prevents him from jumping as he pleases and disrupts his gameplay flow. Now, we go from an unstoppable animal to a cool, calm, and collected master of magnetism. Magneto may be one of the most plotting characters in the game, but he is also a composer on the battlefield, and you can have game-winning impact like no other hero. Mag has always been a top-tier tank in the game, with an unrivaled ability to deal with ranged characters, while holding space, poking at backlines, and protecting his teammates, not to mention having one of the most well-designed ultimates in the game. His meteor can absorb heals to the enemy, or damage to your teammates during critical moments. You can use it to counter other ultimates and take out several people simultaneously. After running lobbies during Season 0 and Season 1, Magneto saw his first change, a boost to his offense at the cost of some of his defense. But this wasn't enough to dethrone him from his place in the meta. If anything, it was a positive trade-off. In Season 2, an adjustment to his ult charge was needed to offset the damage boost. But also, Mag traded in his sword from his long-lost daughter Scarlet Witch to team up with Emma Frost and create mental projections of himself on the battlefield. This team-up was an added incentive to play the 2 best Vanguards in the game together. And to make matters worse, even with Mag still being a top 2 Vanguard in the game, he was given a buff to his Mag Cannon charge rate. Currently, Magneto continues to be over-reliable, and a character that never feels overpowered, but is integral at all levels of play. Understanding Magneto's abilities and gameplay flow is the only way to understand how to counter him. Pay attention to his shield and bubble usage to time your big plays, and keep track of his ultimate to know when you'll be countered. You may even want to try to outpace him after he uses his meteor. Coming up next, the third wheel to the Spidey Venom team up, Penny Parker. The only balance changes that Penny has received came at the start of Season 2. She received 3 buffs in total. 1. Her primary fire can now headshot. 2. She's a bit faster while shooting. And 3. She got a nice 100 HP boost. People were clamoring about the fact that Penny can now headshot, and she's going to be so much better. But because of the way her primary attack is split into impact and burst damage, similar to Magneto, the headshot multiplier only affects the impact damage, moving her total damage output from 30 to 45 on headshot. Everything changed in Season 2.5, when Penny teamed up with Rocket Raccoon. This team up supplied Penny with a second spider nest that deploys armor packs. More importantly, it extended the area of denial, doubled the amount of arachno spiders, and tripled the amount of headaches experienced by the opponent. With Rocket being an easier character to play while providing acceptable value, it was reasonable for Penny to almost always have this team up online. The addition of the team up was found to be very impactful, and it needed a 10-second nerf to the cooldown. Currently, Penny holds one of the highest win rates in the game, but we see her pick rate fall off dramatically when we look at the higher ranks, as more coordination is applied to take care of the spider nests. At any rank, Penny is a menace to dive characters, and her web snare on a 3-second cooldown is miserable to play against. It can cancel ultimates and wrap people up right in the middle of her nest's webs. Here's the thing. The Thing was added at the start of Season 1.5 and hit the ground running. He was instantly a solid pick for any team. With his simple kit, he was able to dominate close quarters, stay alive for way too long, play on the point very well, make life difficult for the shield tanks that dominated the meta, and farm his ultimate very, very quickly. In a more dynamic game, the Thing is also great for peeling to his team, applying damage reduction, and grounding high mobility characters. The Thing's impact was definitely felt, and in Season 2, I think people were expecting multiple nerfs to bring him down a bit. However, the only change Thing saw was a slight hit to his damage reduction applied. When I saw this, I thought the Thing was going to be meta for so long. But because Season 2 also brought the addition of Emma Frost, the Thing was knocked pretty far down the Vanguard ladder. Emma's primary beam and soul crystal cooked the Thing, and her diamond form chokeslam made him the biggest practice dummy on the battlefield. Now, to kick him while he's down, Season 2.5 brought in Ultron and started a wave of flying threats the Thing just couldn't compete against. The Thing had one of the lowest win rates of all heroes across all ranks. The developers saw this man struggling and reacted pretty quickly. They gave him a whole new ability called Battle Blitz, which allows him to leap to his enemies and apply damage resistance to himself. And if paired with the newly upgraded Stone Haymaker, he can knock flying enemies to the ground. Currently, the Thing looks good. He can still do all the things that made him great in Season 1.5, but now, so much more. He still has a massive hitbox and gets fried by long-range damage, but now has the tools to play around some of those struggles. Next up, one that needs no introduction, the God of Thunder. Very fun, very cool character. But Thor hasn't been able to live up to the lore-accurate powerhouse that he is. Thor is a character that can be defined as a fat DPS. He outputs a ton of damage from the Vanguard role, but his shortcomings mostly come from the clunky mechanics he has at his disposal. The first attempt at a fix was to make him CC immune during his ultimate, as it felt very underpowered for the role. They also increased his health, which as a less mobile, shieldless tank is much needed. That was just the start to the quality of life changes. They continued by removing the cooldown following his Rune Awakening. At this point, Thor started to feel a bit more fluid, and players adapted a playstyle abusing his hammer push, gaining shields upon Thor Force usage and displacing enemy tanks away from where they want to be. Because of this playstyle, his health bonus was reverted with a health boost and an anchor bonus loss, resulting in a net 25 HP nerf. He was also given a movement buff similar to the Hulk. However, this felt more like a buff to his ultimate that allowed him to close the distance while in midair. Then, in Season 2.5, Thor received a very divisive rework. His hammer throw was removed from his Thor Force abilities and made into an ability of its own. It was also given the ability to add Thor Force back upon contact. This did come at a price of his survivability from consuming Thor Force, a direct nerf to the playstyle that Thor players loved. However, this rework seemed to be another quality of life change to me, making his kit much more fluid, increasing his damage output, and solidifying his role as a fat DPS. The most recent change was adding the flexibility of canceling his awaken mode. Again, another quality of life change. Currently, Thor is still not the most competitive hero in the game. He was one of the few characters to not see any play in the Marvel Rivals Ignite $3 million tournament. I think he still needs the ability to cancel his ultimate and maybe the ability to direct his ult in a 30-degree conical direction below him, rather than slamming straight down. For anyone having trouble with Thor, remember, he excels at 1v1 fights, so if you see him in an alley, just run the other way. Last but not least, the man with the smoothest dance moves in the game, Venom. Venom is a great dive character in the Vanguard role. He's able to get in and out of fights with ease. Because of his diving nature, he's more dependent on coordination than any other tank, and thus, hasn't been atop the meta since the game's release. This has contributed to the fact that he's the only Vanguard in the game to never receive a nerf. At the start of Season 1, he was given a boost to his symbiotic resilience shields, and a small flat damage boost to his ultimate. Season 1.5 brought a nice improvement to his slam, which brought enemies closer on impact, and a lower ult charge requirement, making him the lowest ult charge in the game, outside of Bruce Banner. Up to this point, Venom was mainly relegated to the role of Spider-Man enabler. Of course, it was nice that they synergized well with each other, but outside of that team up, it felt as if there was other Vanguards that could do his job better. So, in Season 2.5, when Venom traded his team up with Spidey for a team up with Jeff the Landshark, Venom almost felt forgettable. Coming out of Season 2.5, Venom had one of the lowest win rates in the game, and with Season 3 revealed to be a symbiotic theme, I was expecting Venom to receive massive buffs to take him to the top. But instead he received another small change, an increase to his grasp slow effect, but nothing that would make him unstoppable. Currently, Venom can still apply pressure when synced with another dive character, and can stall objectives with the best of them, with his insane survivability. But somehow, Venom feels lost. I have to admit that every change thus far has been a positive, but I'm wondering at what point will we have another Human Torch effect, where all of these small changes make Venom take over the meta out of nowhere. With that, thank you so much for watching. This has been Judgment Monk with Marvel Rivals by the Numbers. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, as more Rivals content is sure to come.